Hello and welcome to Miss Alley Cat DIY. Today I want to show you how I make this DIY Jenga frame from Dollar Tree products. So before we get started, I just wanted to say I know there's Christmas lights there and there's a Christmas picture, but that's because it's Christmas time right now. But this DIY can be used any time of the year because you can put any picture inside of this hanging wooden Jenga picture frame. Whew, got all that out. So with that being said, what I'm doing right now is I'm just figuring out how many Jenga blocks I need to fit for my frame. I am just setting them all the way around this picture to get an idea of how big the frame is going to be and how many blocks I will need. And if you're wondering where this picture is from, it's actually from a box set at Dollar Tree, and you get 3 different boxes. So to build the frame, you will need 2 pieces with 7 blocks and 2 pieces with 5 blocks. So I went ahead and with my E6000 glue, glued those together, making sure that they were flat and that none of the glue spilled out, and if it did, I wiped it down with a paper towel, and now I'm going to let this dry for at least 30 minutes. So all I'm doing here is I'm making the shape of the frame and laying it out so that I can now glue it together. So I'm now taking my E6000 glue, and make sure you have a paper towel on hand just in case some of it spills out. I'm just taking a small amount, the size of my block that I'm going to be gluing to that side piece. I'm doing the top and the bottom there, and I'm gluing both tops to the right side. Well, it's the right side on your screen. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side, but once you've glued it, do hold it down for like 30 seconds or so and wipe the excess glue that spills over, and of course keep it nice and flat and level. Moving on to the other side, do the same thing. Just a bit of glue where you're going to glue it to the top, and a bit of glue where you're going to glue it to the bottom. And let this dry for at least 30 minutes. Alright, so with my furniture scratch marker from the Dollar Tree in cherry, it's the darkest one. You can use whichever one you want, or you don't have to paint it, or you don't stain it, I mean. You could paint it, you could just leave it the way it is. Whatever your little heart desires. I'm going to go ahead and stain it with this pin now, just because I don't want to do it when the picture's on it, just in case I accidentally touch the picture. So, making sure to get the top and the inside and the outside anywhere you're going to see. You don't have to do the underneath because obviously you're going to not see that. So some places are darker than others and others are lighter, and I just think that that looks a little more natural and gives it some more character. So I will go ahead and speed the video on up so you don't have to watch a couple minutes of me doing this. So once it was completely painted with that darker furniture marker, I went in with this oak color. It's a little bit lighter. This is totally optional, but I just thought this gives it a little bit more definition. I took that oak color and just swiped it on the wood like I did with the other color, except this time I took a paper towel and kind of smudged it out to give a more natural look, I want to say. I don't know, I really liked the way it turned out, but it's totally optional. So I did end up using both of those colors randomly all over the frame. And when I did use the oak color, I continued to smudge it out with the paper towel. So taking the bottom box, so the white box, I'm going to cut off all 4 of the sides with my scissors. I'm also going to be cutting off the sides of the top box, so our picture, but just the sides, not the actual picture. So now I've got some foam board where I'm showing you everywhere except what's going to be the top of our frame, and I'm going to glue all this down with some E6000 glue. So the foam board is no wider than our Jenga blocks, but at the very top I have a piece of cardboard, a very thin piece that came off of one of our boxes that was white, and that's going to be the top of our frame. And so you don't want to put the foam board at the top of your frame. You just want a little piece of thin cardboard just so it has some added support for the blocks, and I'm just gluing that with E6000 and putting that on the top of our frame. Be sure to press that down gently just to give the blocks some added support. So going back in with our E6000 glue, we're going to be gluing those foam pieces that are no wider than our blocks. We're going to be gluing those foam pieces and putting them on our sides of the frames and the bottom, but not the top. And the top of the frame is where we have our thin piece of cardstock, or in this case, a thin piece of cardboard from one of our boxes. Got some twine here. I've cut it a little bit less than 2 feet. However long you want it is fine. And I'm just gluing that down to the top of my frame. And make sure that the glue is nice and flat so there's no bumps. I did this by letting the glue get practically all dry and then flattening it with my finger. And then with the other end of the twine, I'm just going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to glue it down and flatten it, and then we shall glue some more to that. Okay, so the next step is I took some more of that cardboard from our box, the white part, the bottom part of the box, and I just cut out some thin strips. Make sure that they're not wider than your frame, just the same way that we did the poster board, just kind of giving it some added support all the way around. I've got a strip here, making sure not to go any longer than the poster board. I've got a few pieces here. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're gonna make it look better on the outside edge later, so don't worry about that. And then I've got one on this side too, once again not going any longer than the poster board. But before we do that, before we glue that down, and I've got pieces for up here too. Before we do that, I have this little piece here that's just big enough to go over our string, and I'm going to do that on both sides. Before I do that, I'm going to be using the E6000 here just to give it, once again, some added support. Just putting some right over this string. Once again, I don't want to make it too thick, so just be aware of that, but it should flatten down once I put my paper there. So just to make it glue a little bit faster, I'm going to take a thin little strip of hot glue and pressing that down. Be very careful to not overfill it like I just did, but if you did, quickly scrape that off of there before it looks bad. Hold that down until it's
really secure, about 30 seconds.
While I'm gluing this, I just want to say you want to make sure that where your two blocks meet is covered, whether it's on the top of your frame with the cardboard or on the sides with your poster board. That way it has some added support.
So now gluing down all of these strips that I mentioned before all the way around my frame, but of course we're leaving this area on top thinner than this area. When you glue this one down, you want to make sure that you have enough on each side of the string, on each side of the paper that you've already previously glued down, just so it has some more added support. If any of your paper keeps coming up or whatever and you can't get it to stick, feel free to go back in with some hot glue.
Now I'm going in with some twine. By the way, you can get twine at Dollar Tree quite often. So yeah, I'm going all the way around my frame, everywhere except for the top, because on the top you don't really see that cardboard, but on the sides, if we didn't cover it up, you would see the poster board, and that just wouldn't look so great. So I'm taking a very small amount of hot glue in sections as I go all the way around the frame, everywhere but the top. So once I've gone completely around and I'm back up to the top, I'm just going to trim that off with some scissors, and we're going to go and do the exact same thing around the edge of our frame again, just because it needs another layer to cover up that poster board. So here I am doing one of the corners, just wrap it around, pulling it tight, and making sure it doesn't go above the poster board, and doing it in sections, just the same way you would do the sides.
So I was going along, everything was going great, and I came across this weird little piece of my twine. If this happens to you, I'm not sure if this happens a lot, go ahead and just cut that off. Unless you want that. And I already put some glue down, so I'm just gluing this and gonna get rid of this weird little piece. I've never really seen that happen. And continue along as if nothing happened. Alright, just like before, when you get to the end, go ahead and trim that off. And we're gonna do the exact same thing twice, just like we did on the inside of our frame. So start wherever it's comfortable and begin again. The same thing on the inside for a second time. So once you've got your twine all around your frame on the outside, on the inside, twice, just kind of look it over and see if there's any of the white poster board that you can see shining through. I'm not saying like really look, but like if you can see it when it's just like standing up or like how it'll be on the wall, then yeah, go ahead and take some more twine, and like I can see some here, and I'm just going to take a little strip of it and push it in as much as I can and glue it down with some hot glue. So going back around, well, all around it, everywhere that you see some of these little stragglers that you don't want, just go ahead and trim them off and make it look a lot more nice and neat. So basically we need to cut it so that it fits snugly right in here, because we will have a backing on this, and then we want to be able to slide our picture in, whatever it may be.
So it took a little bit of trial and error to do this. I cut it and I measured it and cut it and measured it. But anyway, I ended up with 13 by 9 inches. And when you do this, just keep in mind of the picture, because you want to make sure that the image that you want to see is showing in your frame. So just keep that in mind when you cut it. Like, I wanted to cut a certain side so that I saw more of the picture than I wanted to see.
With your shape, you're going to take your white piece of cardboard, basically, from the box that we cut out, and we're going to just glue here and all the way around, not on top, and we're going to place this on here. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Once I've done that, I'll be right back. So once that is glued down, it'll just look blank like this. Nice and flat in one color. And then on the other side, you'll have this guy and a little pocket. Now this is still kind of flimsy because it's just cardboard, so be careful when you put your picture in there. But with that being said, it works pretty darn well. So just carefully.
So as you can see, I just cut off some more of my picture, but the measurements that I said earlier that I ended up with are what I ended up with. I just wanted to point that out.
Absolutely thrilled with how this turned out. I think it's so cute, and it's so cool that you can switch out the pictures. Dollar Tree has so many cute bags that maybe you could cut down to size, and also other boxes. Like for instance, the box set comes with 3, and this picture is absolutely beautiful as well and will look so cute inside of this hanging frame. I'm super excited to try different pictures in this, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, this DIY. If you did, don't forget to pounce on that like button and hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Miss Alley Cat DIY signing off.